Ooh, hello. This is weird. It's not Tuesday, but it's still popped. This is a little bit different for us. We didn't do a show yesterday just because of schedules. As you guys can see, it is just me, Keith, and Travis right now. Coming up, we've got Neil because we wanted to do a special episode to discuss E3. We wanted to do a popped coast to coast. So Neil over there on the West Coast, Travis here on the East Coast, and we're going to dive into some E3 stuff. So hope you guys are ready. We've got Neil on hold here, but I wanted to bring us in and remind you guys where you can catch us. You can catch us on facebook.com/popshow almost every Tuesday. We'll keep you guys posted of when we can and can't make that. But if you can't catch us live every Tuesday at 8, you can catch us on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play on the podcast form, which is where you might be listening to this stuff right now. So I think we're just going to jump right into it. Over the past few days, we had the E3 Expo where all the game developers kind of came in and discussed the hot upcoming releases they've got. Everything from EA to Sony to Microsoft. Nintendo, all sorts of stuff. So, but I'm going to turn it over to two guys who watched way more of the streams than I ever did. So without further ado, Neil, welcome to the show for the first time, man.
Hello.
Awesome. How's it going?
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you, paying attention to all this stuff. Keeping an eye on it. And let's see here. And we've got Travis, who many of you have seen on the show before.
Hi, I'm the bald guy.
Yes. And let's see. And we've got a little bit of lag on the video, so I apologize for those that are watching this live. So, but without further ado, I'm just going to turn it over to you guys. So you guys keep rolling, and I will pull up pictures and interject when I feel necessary. So have at it, boys.
Let us know if we're getting too in the weeds.
Yes, I will definitely make sure to let you guys know if you get too nerdy on a pop culture podcast for sure. But we try to do this for everybody. So, and we want to give everybody the details, but we also want to make sure that the common person, maybe not the hardcore gamer, but the casual gamer still can understand what's going on with everything. So, Have at it, guys.
All right. Well, let's see here. Who kicked it off? It was EA. Why don't we go ahead and start with you there, Neil? How did you feel about EA's presentation this year?
Oh, man. I wasn't expecting much. I typically don't expect all that much from EA, but it was pretty underwhelming. It's kind of unfortunate to start the whole conference off on such a meh showing. They have Anthem there, of course, which is BioWare's big game. I know a lot of people are looking forward to that, but the pacing was really off. The on stage kind of cringy live stuff didn't go too well for me. I kind of want to get this out of the way too, just right at the top. I'm a total Nintendo fanboy. I pay attention to everything that's going on, in the video game industry, but my depth of knowledge is far deeper on the Nintendo side of things. So catch any blind spots that I might just let roll off my tongue here.
All right.
I thought Anthem looked really cool. I'm glad that we saw gameplay. A lot of flying. There's some light RPG elements when you're seeing the damage. I don't think they're going to hit the February release date with how little was shown. And I saw someone write into, one of the channels I follow, and they were saying showing off concept art when you have this really cool game to show is like transposing a song for someone rather than just playing it. Right. So I get the feeling that they're not going to hit February. And I think that's going to bum a lot of people out because that's the big game coming from EA.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I suffered through that entire Anthem presentation. The question and answer thing with the developers was okay. I was fine with that. But then the issue, like you said, that we have is they're sitting there talking about concept art and they're not showing us. anything at least substantial beyond just some kind of cursory gameplay. Hey, look, you can fly, you can walk around, talk to each other. And then really the only thing BioWare kind of did outside of that, once the EA Play event started after the show, was say, well, there's not going to be any romance in this game because it's a multiplayer game versus what we've done previously. And then that just set a third of the internet on fire with rage. Which, I mean, that's kind of what E3 is good for in a lot of ways. So it wasn't wholly unexpected that game kind of caught some ire from people as that goes. But I don't know.
It looks good. It looked just really empty to me. There was a couple scenes where I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah, well, and that was the thing, is they didn't really have anybody like playing it and then have, there's a reason the 2-man format works really well when you're demoing. One guy to talk about it, one guy to play it, and just and then kind of let the gameplay speak for itself as far as the actual stuff you're showing, but have somebody at least explain kind of, well, this is where we're at in the game, this is what we're doing, here's what we're trying to accomplish. And that seemed to be kind of a recurring theme this year in E3 was, hey, we're going to bring game footage, but we're not going to tell you anything about the game. You're not going to know what you're doing. And so I think especially with Anthem being a little further along than some of the other games that are similarly shown that way, is that people are sitting here anticipating that February date, especially with the expansion for Destiny that's coming here in a few months, Forsaken, which is supposed to kind of revamp that whole game. And I think that was reactionary on the part of Activision to try to get out ahead of Anthem. But if Anthem can't make February, then BioWare and EA are on the back foot again.
Right.
So
I thought it was good that they came out and mentioned, no microtransactions. They at least, I mean, they had to know, right, after everything that happened with Battlefront, but I wouldn't put it past EA to just stick their heads in the sand and be like, we stuffed this game full of microtransactions. That's what you want, right? So I thought that was good, at least. I'll give them a positive for that.
Right. Yeah, I liked a fair amount of their presentation. I really dig what EA is doing with the indies. They're the 2 indies that they showed, one that they actually released that day, Unravel 2. If you ever played the first one, I don't know if you did or not, but
I haven't.
Charming little platformer, pretty clearly, a smaller developer behind it. It's got some mechanical hiccups that maybe a bigger or more established team wouldn't have allowed into a final game, but it's still fun, it's still charming. And Unravel 2 looks like it addresses directly a number of those issues that the first game had, mechanically, as far as some of the gameplay goes. So I was really impressed with Unravel 2 and the fact that EA decided, okay, we're going to drop this. We're confident with it. Here it is, folks. Have some fun. The other one they showed, Sea of Solitude, it kind of brought the whole thing to a screeching halt, just because I think the gal who wrote it and is obviously directing it, she was a little overwhelmed being up on stage, and it's obviously a very personal game for her. But it looks very impressive. But again, we got shown a game, we got shown gameplay footage, but we didn't really get told what we're going to be doing. So visually striking, but what are we doing?
Yeah.
So.
I have to go back to Unravel 2. It looked really cool to me. Obviously, being a Nintendo fan, I was really bummed that that's not coming to Switch. Like outside of FIFA 19, just not a lot of support there for the Switch. And that game looks like it's built for single Joy-Con co-op play, and the characters are even. There's one red and one blue character that look just like the Joy-Con colors. And I was thinking maybe Nintendo's saving that for their Direct, but they obviously weren't.
Yeah.
So that was a disappointment for me, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. Unravel is not so graphically intensive that they couldn't make it work. It would absolutely be perfect for the Switch as a platform. And especially if you got a couple of younger kids and stuff who need a platformer that's not gonna beat them up like a Mega Man game or something like that would, and just grind them into the dirt. Unravel's a great way to introduce younger kids and even some kind of like probably your 9 or 10 year old into some of those classic platforming elements without having to go, well, here's a Game Boy, here's Mario, back in my day, this is how we did it. So I think it's a huge missed opportunity not having either of the Unravel games over on the Switch. And EA, for whatever reason, just seems hell-bent on not supporting the Switch. And I don't understand it, other than they don't seem to think they can adapt Frostbite, which they seem to use on everything now, down to what the Switch's specs can handle, I guess.
Yeah.
At least that's my guess. They just want to have that unified platform, and they're not willing to really deviate too much from that.
Well, and they've fixed it now, but I felt like FIFA 18 was, that there were some problems there. That there were some key components missing, and it's a FIFA game. I know FIFA is popular with soccer players, obviously, but to gauge interest in EA titles on the Switch just based off FIFA 18, it just seems short-sighted. So I don't know what to say about that other than that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're gonna if you're gonna release a game that is as buggy as FIFA 18 was on the Switch, and then claim nobody bought it after every reviewer that got a hold of code for it savaged it, what came first, the chicken or the egg, the bad game or the bad sales?
Right.
So I feel like EA is just kind of out in the weeds. Like they don't know what to do with a platform like the Switch. And so rather than actually make an honest run at it, or maybe go to their indie studios and say, hey, you're making games that aren't super intensive graphically, we think it would work over here on a platform that is selling indie games 3-1 over everything else. I'm sure those developers would be happy to get those sales. So it really doesn't make any sense to me the way EA has approached the entire thing with Switch. And hopefully somebody gets a hold of them by the ear and says, hey, make it happen.
Yeah. Agreed. Anything else from EA on your side? I feel like out of all the conferences that I was just like, yawn. Here's a couple notes, and it's EA.
So, yes. EA upset me more than anybody in all of E3 this year.
Yes.
You and I were chatting live while it was going down. But they decided to bring out, for those of you who maybe missed it, they decided to bring out 2 professional gamers, hand them cell phones, and tell them to play an RTS next to each other for about 10 minutes. Again, brings the whole presentation to a screeching halt. But then the part that galls me was that they decided to bring back the Command & Conquer name and nothing more than the name, and maybe a few little art assets, and hand it to their mobile team and tell them to turn it into a cash factory. And Keith is being cool and bringing us up a picture right now, but that's the whole game right there on that one screen. You've got 3 inches of clearance between you and the bad guy, whoever you've been matched up with on their servers, and You're not even playing Command & Conquer. You're not building a base. You're not building units and going after each other. You're going after the missile thing in the middle. So it's really capture the missile, nuke the other guy, and move on. The whole experience is tailored around 10 minutes of splashy combat real quick, and then move on. And I'm sure there's going to be a million cash mechanics in the game to separate people from real world money. And that's horrendously disappointing for a series that is, at least amongst a group of a certain age, as loved as Command & Conquer is, to see it reduced to nothing more than a Clash of Clans knockoff or competitor at best is just awful. It made me sick, and I may have gotten really salty, and I may have had a couple of tweets read aloud on GameSpot's live feed in the immediate after show. And I think it was justified. You don't cuss these people out, but at the same time, people need to let them know that this isn't what we want as a fan base, and I definitely did that. So yeah, that was kind of up to that point. EA had some legitimate goodwill with me because of the indies. However, once that Command and Conquer game came out, they could have shown me the greatest game ever made immediately afterward, and I still would have been mad. It just, oh God.
Yeah, I witnessed you spin on the dime in the chat.
Yeah.
These indie titles, this looks great, and then yeah, expletives.
Yeah, well, it started. To be fair, it started with a Vader no, where I was just no. As I watched all hopes and dreams crash around me with regard to that franchise, and yeah, I don't know. It's so frustrating, and if we can, we'll briefly divert here to the PC gaming showcase, because one of the points that I made when I was getting salty on GameSpot's Twitter feed was that the RTS, the real-time strategy genre, needs a shot in the arm. And one of their hosts took issue with that assertion and said, well, what about these 4 or 5 games? Well, I own Sands of Karak. I own the other 3 or 4 he listed. They're all fantastic games, but none of them have the name recognition or the legion of followers that Command and Conquer does. And watching the PC gaming showcase the next day, or 2 days later, excuse me, in an hour and a half of PC games being shown off, only PC games, 1 real-time strategy game was shown. That was it. And that is just unfathomable to me, that genre has fallen off that hard to where, outside of a Civ game coming out every once in a while, people just kind of seem to have forgotten that it's there and that their games are worthwhile.
And the fans, I mean, obviously seem to want they want more. So yeah, I don't understand why they were so absent this year.
Every post in the immediate aftermath of that presentation, I think I saw where EA and then the Command and Conquer, the dedicated game-specific Twitter feed as well, both took upward of 10,000 comments from people, and I would say 98% of those were rather vitriolic and unhappy. So I think EA has got some evaluating to do with regard to that franchise, but and maybe having to do a little bit of soul searching about how they treat their fans, and really kind of closing the gap between what they think people want and what people actually do want.
Right. I just they have to know they're displeasing everyone, right? I mean, they have the honor of, what was it, the like most downvoted Reddit comment of all time.
Yep.
Yeah,
well,
for the Battlefront.
That was thanks to
debacle.
Yep, that's what I was going to add in there. So.
Yep. Well, and I will give some props where they're due to EA, instead of beating up on them too much more. But they announced new content for Battlefront 2, and I mean, a lot of Clone Wars stuff, getting characters like General Grievous in there. Grievous may not have been much of a character in the movies, but visually speaking, he's a crazy, awesome design. Would undoubtedly be fun to play, and I did have a bit of an issue with EA leaving their guy from DICE out there to kind of twist in the wind, having to own that, well, we screwed up with all these loot boxes. EA is the one who dictates whether those loot boxes go in those games. It's not DICE. We all know it. So it shouldn't be DICE apologizing. It should have been the CEO, who was on stage not 10 minutes prior, owning that and saying, we're the ones who screwed up and we're going to fix it, not DICE.
Yeah, I felt so terrible for Mitch Dyer, former IGN employee, who, there was kind of some transparency prior to the release of Battlefront, that he was working directly on the game, and his former coworkers were very excited for him. And I'm like, oh, what a disappointment that must be to have that happen in front of your former friends and coworkers and the entire industry. I mean, ugh.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I can't believe that EA, for whatever reason, just cannot take responsibility for some of the stuff that they've perpetrated the last few years. And because it wasn't just Battlefront, it's been a number of games, or series, or even development studios that they've bought up and then almost immediately killed off. That have all developed quality games. Dead Space as a series should still be a thing, and it's not because, well, EA killed it. Put all this stuff in there that doesn't belong there. And it's ridiculous. So EA, easily the roughest presentation of the show. Thankfully, it was out of the way first, so the show had nowhere to go but up. And so I don't remember who was next after EA.
Microsoft.
Was it? Okay.
I believe.
Yeah.
I might be missing someone in between, but I think so. Yeah, I mean, EA has that kind of pre-E3 feel to their presentation, so it's just kind of like, let them do their thing and get it out of the way. And I totally agree. I put them as, like, if we're going to rank these conferences, I'd put them dead last for sure.
Yeah. So,
do you want to roll into a far more positive conference, in my opinion, for Microsoft?
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and do that? So, the good things, let's start with the good for Microsoft. So, games on games on games. I think, if I remember right, it was 50 games were shown, 15 exclusives, and 18 exclusives, 15 world premieres. Never before seen games. So, they immediately started with a teaser for Halo Infinite. I'll admit, I'm not a big Halo guy. Microsoft, out of the big three, really has the longest way to go for me. I own all three platforms. And my Xbox, in the last 3 years of ownership, I've bought 4 games. And admittedly, I'm not a huge Halo guy. I'm not a big Gears of War guy. That's heresy amongst Xbox faithful. I understand that. Halo Infinite was obviously their opening salvo because, one, that is always going to be the franchise. That is their Mario, their Sonic, their Crash Bandicoot of the 90s for PlayStation, whatever. He is their mascot. We didn't see any gameplay. I would assume that is probably going to end up releasing
next gen.
I don't think they'll go next gen. I think it's going to be a bridge game, and we saw a few of those across everything except for really Nintendo, just because they're so fresh onto the market with the Switch. But yeah, I really think Halo Infinite's just the keeping the faith game more than anything. And that's fine. I totally understand it. It was a good, strong start for them. Get everybody in the audience riled up and clapping, and that's more than EA could say, because, man, there were some pregnant pauses in that presentation. So it was a solid start for them. And they
I never picked up an X, or a One rather, and definitely not an X. I bought a 360 for Red Dead, I think. So even late in the cycle then, but I loved that console. I got a lot of time out of it. And up until this conference, I just haven't been compelled to really pay attention to what's been happening on the Xbox side of things. But for me, this was one of the stronger conferences at E3.
It was.
I don't know that I'd pick up an X with their like slight nod at the next console in development, but I'm paying more attention and maybe I will grab something prior to the launch of whatever's coming next.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. I'm glad Microsoft is at least acknowledging, look, we're already working on the next machine. That's more than Sony can say. I was kind of hoping Sony was at least going to say, look, PS5's coming. Obviously, you all know that. But, Microsoft just kind of came out with it and said, look, here's the deal. And that's a good thing. That's a smart thing on their part, because I think a lot of people have kind of just been wondering, okay, are they going to keep iterating this design that, not a lot of the marketplace really cared for? And then as far as games go, it was an impressive showing. In terms of sheer volume, I think they did a heck of a job. And they had a good variety in there as well. It wasn't just all shooters, all racing games, all this, all that. There was a game, Tunic, that looked a lot like a Legend of Zelda game, just kind of in an isometric perspective. I think Keith's going to throw that up now.
Yeah,
And,
the audio too. It was the whole package. I just immediately was like, oh, they're doing a Zelda thing with this, but there's a little fox instead.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're gonna go that way and you're gonna copy something, you could do a heck of a lot worse than going after the Legend of Zelda. Those are some fine coattails to try to ride.
We actually have some comments. I'm going to chime in on
Sure.
Our Facebook stream is currently down because, why ever would things work properly? But we are live on YouTube, so obviously things are working on our end. But we've got Lion of Starfall chiming in saying Halo prior to 4 actually had some solid story work. But that isn't why majority of people played it, though, and I'm being one of them. I remember playing Halo. That was when we were first getting, access to LANs and easy networks.
Right.
So we really enjoyed the multiplayer on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I remember my freshman year at Washington State, we figured out we could LAN game from dorm to dorm without having to plug Xboxes directly into each other. Once we got it figured out how to do it and get around the school's security stuff, Halo and Halo 2 owned that year. So.
Oh man, the college years of gaming were just so excellent. It's Halo, Melee, Smash Brothers Melee, and Resident Evil 4. Yeah. I just remember skipping so many classes to just play 8 straight hours of those games. So.
Oh yeah.
I miss having that time. Oh man.
Right. Well, let's just turn this into the Glory Days podcast. We'll
Easy.
No, so yeah, I mean, Leon of Starfall, that is my buddy Taylor.
Welcome, Taylor.
Yeah, good dude. So, and he is right. I mean, Halo is the moneymaker for the Xbox, and again, it completely makes sense why they did it. It's just a little disappointing that they didn't have anything more to show than 5 seconds of a helmet being held at approximately, hip height. So, but Tunic, as we were talking about before, absolutely looked fantastic. Looked like that'd be a good little fun romp through, kind of the classic Zelda gameplay from back in the day. So it's good that they're starting to recognize that more than just the shooter bros want to play games on Xbox.
Yeah, it looked like there was a few offerings. Xbox is hurting in Japan. Looks like there's some games kind of more tailored for a Japanese audience. I thought, what was it? Shadows Die Twice. I thought that looked fun. I thought the new Forza, I thought that looked great. It was visually impressive. I know we were chatting when the dynamic weather system came through and it froze the lake, and then everyone drives out on the lake to get some ice racing in. I was all in.
Oh yeah, two of the 4 games I have for my Xbox are Forza titles. Playground Games makes some absolutely stunning racing games with that series, arcade and sim. And so it was really good to see them take something that had its roots in Forza 7 this last year, but really wasn't taken full advantage of, and apparently just push it as far as they have now in moving into Forza Horizon 4. So, yeah. there was that.
What else did we
and
have? Shadow
Lord.
of the Tomb Raider. Oh, Session, which I think everyone thought was the next Skate.
Yeah,
I don't know. That looked all right.
that was one of the more unintentionally hilarious reveals. Because I know I thought it was Skate 4. I don't know how you were feeling about it, but
Yep, absolutely.
yeah, most of Twitter was starting to forgive EA, and then very suddenly weren't. The Skate 4 vitriol kicked right back up immediately once that name hit. But it did look good, so it's nice that we're getting some more skateboarding stuff out there, because I miss the glory days of Tony Hawk and then the skate games, and there's always seemingly been at least one good skating game out there through these last few generations, and it's been a minute.
Yep. And then they announced that they picked up, was it like 5 new development studios?
Yeah.
I don't know that average. Maybe not E3 attendee, but those watching at home, I don't know that that's something that they would really necessarily care about, but I think it showed that, we're trying. It really seemed like Microsoft was punching hard during their entire conference.
I think Microsoft's overall strategy was, we're not going to worry about Nintendo so much, because who's going to keep up with Nintendo's library other than Sony at this point? But I think Microsoft's strategy, at least with announcing those 5 developers they picked up, one of them being Playground, who I thought they already owned because they've only ever made the Forza games, to my knowledge, was, it was impressive that they said, okay, fine, we're going to double down, we're going to buy them, but then, we're going to go get a developer like Ninja Theory, who, made the game Hellblade Sacrifice this year, which was absolutely fantastic. I think it was a $30 game. It was absolutely on par with the typical $60 AAA experience. And they did it with a team.
And a really cool narrative spin there. I mean, the whole, mental health angle. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't played, but there's a really interesting twist to the whole narrative of that game, even though it's technically a walking simulator.
Yeah. Well, and the combat and the way it's structured around that narrative really worked well, and it was really original, and just it was a brilliant game. There were some bugs early on that obviously had to kind of get patched out, because they didn't have the development time to not get it out to market. But even then, that was forgivable given how good a game we really got once those little niggly bits were kind of cleaned up at the very beginning.
I thought they talked about Game Pass a little bit, and that was somewhat compelling to me. I know that's not new, but kind of quickly crunching the numbers, it was something like, if you're buying more than 2 AAA $60 games a year, Game Pass is paying for itself. So I could see myself getting in there, because I'm probably buying a AAA game at least, I don't know, once every 3 months at the minimum.
Yeah, well,
and they had an offering that was somewhat attractive to me.
Yeah. Well, and the good thing too there, I do have to give Microsoft credit. The backward compatibility program that they launched last year, if I'm not mistaken, between that and the Game Pass program, which I admittedly have not signed up for yet, those are compelling, legitimately valuable reasons to have an Xbox now. Before those programs, there was a lot of question about, well, what is, if you don't have the exclusives to be able to run with Sony, what else is there to get
True
me
4K.
to this machine? So it's been fantastic, at least being able to kind of dig into the older games, because I didn't have an OG Xbox, and I had a 360. I still have a 360, but it's been in its box most of its life, because I got it about 10 seconds before they pulled the plug on the machine. So Yeah, I mean, it's been absolutely great being able to go back and revisit titles that I couldn't play on the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 3. What few
Right.
exclusives they really had, because the exclusives issue is not new to Microsoft. It's been an ongoing issue since they came into the market, and like we started off saying here, buying those 5 studios, especially in Ninja Theory, Playground, studios that have made quality games already that are known quantities in terms of being able to capably make you a good game, does show that Microsoft is trying and trying hard to at least get up off the mat and put up a fight.
Cool. What else did we have? We had new Gears. Did they start with the Gears Pop mobile game to kick it off? I
Yeah.
definitely thought of Keith when that rolled up.
Yeah, that was an interesting way to kick that whole thing off. Keith, you want to weigh in on some Gears of War pops?
I saw that they had some come out, but it gets lost in all the other pops that I'm keeping track of. So I saw them. I was like, oh, I've played that game a little bit. I want some other pops. Look, here's Hulk busting out of the Hulkbuster outfit.
Yeah, there you go.
So, I mean, what pisses me off about the pops is they do everything but Nintendo. I need a Mario pop. I need a Yoshi pop. I need a Tanuki Mario pop. Call me when they get some of those.
That's fair.
Yeah. Gears of War. Okay, great. Whatever. Moving on.
All right,
so
Keith's not interested.
So you don't care
guys.
about the Gears of War mobile game with pop vinyl characters?
Yeah. I'm a lame-o, and my phone only holds 16 gigs, which means it really only holds 8 because half of it's taken up with operating system.
Yeah.
So I don't really. I have Sudoku on my phone and my social media apps. That's really all I've got on this phone. and obviously Popped Podcast, so I can listen back through. Available now on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher Radio.
There it is.
Nice.
You have
shameless plug over.
Yeah, so that was an interesting little rug pull they had with like, hey, we're gonna show you Gears, and then it was Pops, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Is this
Well,
what?
technically, they still showed you Gears then.
They did, and
Just in pop
again,
form.
it was a brief rug pull. They showed the quickie little commercial basically for the Gears Popped thing, and then or Pops thing, and then moved on to Gears Tactics. Now that piqued my interest. Very XCOM looking in the limited gameplay we got to see. As a huge tactics genre fan, that game looked absolutely fantastic. And then, of course, they immediately followed that with, here's Gears 5.
Taylor's calling it the double fake on Gears.
It kind of was, because I think everybody did expect them to go, okay, silly pop stuff is over here now, Gears 5, and they didn't.
Yeah, well, take what you can get when you're a gamer sometimes.
Yeah.
And then I think the only other thing I have for Microsoft was Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh my god. Give me that game today.
Oh, it looks beautiful.
Please. Now, one thing about the Microsoft presentation was that they weren't shy, because Cyberpunk's not going to be Xbox exclusive. In that 50 games, the vast majority were games that are going to be or already are multi-platform announced. So I did appreciate that they were at least willing to say, hey, we're getting this. Yes, it's not going to be just here, but, here's a great game anyway.
Yep.
Because they don't always do that.
Anything else from Microsoft on your end? I mean, I don't know that you were trying to rank these necessarily, but for me, not necessarily just based on being a fan of the titles shown, but just the overall pace of the conference, I thought Microsoft did a really good job. I feel like they kind of might be tied for top spot for me.
I would put them in a healthy number 2 for me out of the big 3. I kind of broke everybody up. I put all the developers on one side, and I kind of put the big three on the other. And I would put them right there, number two, or maybe even 1A, with the big three. Like you said, the pacing was good. The volume, the variety of games they showed, and the commitment to further game development that they showed was absolutely fantastic. So they were right there.
Agreed. Do you want to roll into Bethesda next? I know this was a...
Yeah, so I dug that I came in a little late, but I did rewatch the opening 5-10 minutes or so that I had missed on Bethesda, and I appreciated them going after Walmart a little bit, making fun of the leak that kind of blew some stuff for them coming into the show. If I'm not mistaken,
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, because I think Walmart blew both. Was it both Rage 2 and Fallout 76, or was it just Fallout?
It was definitely Rage 2. I'm not sure about Fallout.
Okay. Yeah, because, man.
Yeah, but they said something like, brought to you by Walmart, whose prices are as low as their ability to keep game releases a secret. So I don't know. Their whole conference was just really fun and punchy and entertaining.
Yeah, and of the developers that come every year and have presentations, I think Bethesda's kind of really found their stride. I can't remember the last time I watched Bethesda and just went, oh my god, get on with it, get this over with, please, just stop. And you're immediately going to amp up your crowd if you're going to bring out Andrew WK and have him play Let's Get Ready to Die.
Yeah, that was weird, but it was great. It was like a smash cut, and then Andrew WK
Bam!
was just rocking out in his party mode.
Yep. So Rage 2, because that's why he was there. What did we think about Rage 2?
Yeah, what was it? It was Let's Get Ready to Die. I thought it looked really fun. There was a lot going on. Looked really visually appealing. A lot of cool pops of color, fast-paced gameplay. I haven't played Rage before, so I probably don't have a lot to chime in on, but I was definitely interested.
Okay. Well, I did play the first Rage, and it is one of the most frustrating narratives I've ever engaged with. Really, pick your favorite form of media, in this case, video games. But yeah, it was the execution was pretty solid mechanically. Open world, first person shooter, one of the first games to really kind of try that. And you build up to this climax like, yeah, I'm going to Mount Doom, I'm going to throw the ring in the volcano and it's going to be awesome. Things are going to explode, it's going to be great. And you're at the base of the mountain looking up. I'm going to take out the bad guy. Smash cut to black, credits, game over. And
Weird.
like, oh my god, why? Why did I just spend 12 hours doing this? So, Rage 2 looks like it kind of jumped all over that a little bit and punched up a lot of the gameplay. Looks like Keith had something he wanted to... No? Okay. He was flirting with the microphone there for a moment. So...
and then I think I thought it looked fun. But I also feel bad for these few games that have kind of been leaked early, because I feel like that kind of takes the wind out of the sails of these surprise drops. But then we went into Doom Eternal next. They're not calling it Doom 2, but we didn't really see any gameplay, but I thought that teaser trailer was excellent. Had the Doom music rolling and Hell on Earth and cacodemons and all that.
So there have been 2 teasers at this year's E3 with guys wearing green power armor and helmets. I know which one I cared about more, and it definitely wasn't the Microsoft one. Yeah, Doom Eternal looked fantastic. What little bit, obviously, that we got to see. Obviously, you'd expect that they would expand on the gameplay from Doom 2016. And as good as that game was, if they could even find an inch of room to be able to make Doom Eternal that much better, oh my god. So yeah, just on the list of games that I did not expect, because I figured if we saw Doom, it would be at QuakeCon months from now. That was
which they did admit to, right? That there's further gameplay to be shown at QuakeCon.
Yeah, it seems like QuakeCon's going to be where they're probably going to do what they did last time, where they're going to go, okay, turn off the Twitch feed, and they're going to show the real meat and potatoes of the gameplay to the crowd that's there. Although maybe they won't this time. I don't know. We'll see. Because last time they didn't even unveil a teaser prior. They just showed the QuakeCon crowd. So whatever they're going to do, I'm looking forward to it. That game,
and I think I saw on Twitter that it is coming. Well, it was listed as coming to Switch as well. Not a big surprise since the first one went there, but that definitely pleases me as a Switch owner. And seeing that game run on Switch is still really impressive to me. It's certainly punching above its weight. There's like some resolution issues, and frame rate, but overall gameplay wise, it's very playable in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Taylor's also excited for Doom Eternal, by the way. I just figured I'd chime in on that. So,
let's see. There is the Parade Moon Crash DLC reveal. I didn't think too much about that. I don't think Parade sold all that well, and they're obviously just trying to pull people back in there. But
yeah, I mean, it was a neat trailer the way they did it. The on stage bit with the two employees was. I don't want to say it was cringy, but if it would have dragged on much longer, it definitely would have been there.
Sure.
Wolfenstein.
Yes.
Again.
Perfect.
Yes.
Youngblood, co-op.
Yeah, I am... It's funny, because I took a note when I was sitting there watching it, and I was talking to you, and I've only got 5 or 6 shooter franchises I actively care about. Doom, Wolfenstein, Half-Life, Borderlands, Duke Nukem, and I think there was one more that I'm forgetting right now. But these guys, Bethesda has 3 of them in-house under its banner, and just about everything got shown here. To make me happy. So Bethesda as a company, I don't know if they could have made me happier the other night than they did.
I feel like fans of just first person shooters in general, like this was a very good E3 for fans of the genre. And Todd Howard, like he does a great job. He's very personable. He was funny. He was punchy. He did well up on stage.
Yeah.
Kind of, there are several moments where he this is getting into the Fallout 76 reveal, but just kind of like, oh, we've heard our games are maybe a little buggy. So I love stuff like that. Just kind of being transparent and.
Yeah, that at least they're self-aware.
Right.
Which is more than say an EA could say.
Certainly.
Yeah. So it was fun seeing Todd Howard out there again. I actually, Taylor there in the chat, he kind of rolled his eyes when Todd Howard came out. But another thing, and I might be the only one who caught this, I don't know. If you follow NoClip on YouTube, they make documentaries about gaming. And Bethesda, I'm guessing, I don't know who talked to who first or what, but within 48 hours of Bethesda's show prior, NoClip had uploaded a comprehensive history of Bethesda documentary that is 90 minutes long and absolutely fantastic. And then today they dropped a making of Fallout 76 documentary that's another hour plus long. So it seems to me like I'm sure there was some behind the scenes handshaking going on there to make that happen, but Bethesda was really coming at it from every angle this year that they could, and I think they did a hell of a job.
Do you want to get into Fallout 76, and maybe we could pull Keith in a little bit for this one, because I know he's a fan of the series?
I finally got around to Fallout 4 the other day. Yeah, I'm about 3 years behind on.
You got 72 more to go, bud.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I started playing Fallout. Let's see, I got Fallout 4 because here's the thing. I got into the Fallout franchise when it was Fallout 3. And when it was DC, I was like, oh, okay. I had a buddy of mine who was really into this Fallout stuff, and it was in DC. I was like, oh, hey, I've been there. So I got Fallout 3, got super sucked into the game and just the gameplay overall. And then New Vegas came out, loved New Vegas. But then I saw that, Fallout 3 came out with a Game of the Year edition that had all the DLC, et cetera, et cetera. I was like, oh, Fallout 4 will come out. It'll have a Game of the Year edition. It took them, 2 years for the Game of the Year edition to come out for Fallout 4? Because it came out in 2015, right?
Yeah, I was in Bahrain when it happened, so...
Okay, so we didn't get the Game of the Year edition for Fallout 4 until November 2017, because that's when I got it.
Yeah, so that's at least 2 years.
Yeah. So, and then I was in the middle... Geez, what was I? I don't even remember what I was in the middle of at the time. I was in the middle of something. Anyways, I finished that game, finally got into Fallout 4, probably about a month or so ago. And I've just been...
I see Sarah's in the chat with her naming conventions.
Oh, yes.
Radiation Minecraft.
Yeah, because the things she has seen me do in Fallout has been basically getting pissed off at the building mechanisms in that game. And that's another reason I kind of waited, because I knew it would be glitchy. Fallout New Vegas was glitchy, so I was like, all right, I'll wait for Fallout 4 to kind of get updated and repaired and whatnot. But I finally got into this gaming mechanism. I don't know how people have spent so many hours on the gaming or the building aspect of it, excuse me. Building some of the stuff they've built, like I have probably spent a good solid 2-3 hours trying to build up my little base around Tappington Boathouse, and I think I've got some walls, and I just now put up guard towers the other day, and
Nice.
even then it still is all wonky, and it's a little rough. But I think my game time right now is up to 3 days on that thing, and I might be halfway through the game. I don't know.
If you run straight through the main quest line, you can knock the game out in 12 hours.
Well, I am
I'm
at the edge of I'm trying to find Virgil at the edge of the glowing sea. That's where I am currently. So I don't know where it falls into the whole main
It's been
story.
long enough, I don't remember.
But I like the Fallout game series, is what I should be saying. I'm dragging this on. I don't know why. Anyways, I like the Fallout game series. It's fun despite its glitches. I like the open world aspect. I like just wandering around in these worlds that they explore and they build, and coming across the different creatures, the characters, and that kind of stuff. I have problems with Fallout 76, though.
Okay. Well, what are the problems?
Okay.
I forgot. It was one of you guys that told me, because I actually kind of stayed out of this E3 stuff because I knew we were going to do this show. I was like, all right, I'm going to let these boys kind of hit me with it. So I kind of try to keep tabs on like the Spider-Man and Last of Us, which, whew.
That's coming.
And then, so I saw the Fallout 76. I watched the trailer, enjoyed it, but I didn't read much into the game. And you guys told me it was basically an MMORPG, right? Is that kind of what they're modeling it after?
Always online.
Yeah. It's always online. There's going to be survival elements, which there have been hardcore modes in the last couple of Fallout games anyway, so survival's not really new. My concern was that we were going to get an Ark Survival Evolved game, or which is kind of it's oh, you're a caveman, here's a bunch of dinosaurs, try not to die. But when you log out, you have to go hide, because other players can come kill you while you're logged out, take all your stuff,
that's annoying.
And then when you log back in, you're dead.
Naked and dead.
And now you got to start all over again.
That's how you came into this world, it's how you're going to leave it.
Yeah. And my brother, my younger brother is 17, and he plays that game endlessly. And I have no comprehension of how he tolerates it.
See, here's the thing. I like those kinds of games. I mean, I like MMORPGs for a certain amount of time. I got big into World of Warcraft. I've played pretty much every expansion that's come out. Not all the way through, because after about 6 months, I realized I'm just doing the same crap over and over again anyways. Right?
Yeah.
But again, I like exploring. I like checking out all these different areas that they've designed and they've created. After 6 months of it, I'm just, give me a storyline, give me a campaign I can go through, and then let me explore the world, and then when the next game comes out, I'll play some other game, you know? So, but that's my little interjection on that one.
Well, they made a point, to say that you could totally play through this game just single player on your own, and it's the apocalypse. There's going to be dozens of other players, not hundreds. I thought it looked interesting, but I'm not a super fan of the series, so I probably don't have a lot of the hang-ups that like longtime fans do.
Yeah,
with,
they did,
where they're taking it moving forward.
Yeah, they did mention a kind of a little add-on was Fallout Shelter, which I played on my mobile phone for the longest time until it took up like a gig of space on my phone. But that was kind of cool because you'd actually build your vault. So they announced that they've released that on the PlayStation 4 and I think Xbox too.
The Switch actually just got it, so you have a reason to steal that from Sarah.
No, I don't, because I can play it on PlayStation. She tell me to stay on the PlayStation. She'll go play her Stardew Valley. So
that's fair.
Farmville Sims.
Yeah, yes, Sarah seems to. Sarah's also commenting because she's not on the show tonight. She's also commenting and acting surprised that I played WoW. I don't know why this would be a surprise.
Whoa, you played WoW?
Yeah, exactly. Like it was some big shock. No, that was again. It came out in the prime of college. I played the first 3 World Warcraft games. Excuse me. Back when it was an over-the-top strategy game, and I loved those games. I kind of wish they would re-release them for our modern systems, but alas. Although isn't Blizzard teasing? I know I'm getting you guys off topic. See, this is why I tried to stay off the mic. Isn't Blizzard? Isn't Blizzard kind of teasing something with the Warcraft series again?
Not recently.
Okay, I thought I heard some rumblings. Figured you guys might be the ones to know.
If they are, I'm not familiar, but
okay, I haven't seen anything.
I would kill for a legit Warcraft 4.
Yeah. Well, they gave us StarCraft 2 not too long ago. I mean, I say not too long ago, but all right. I'm opening new wounds for Travis. I apologize. And Miles, I get that that's the joke, but still, I don't need your sass. Miles is just waiting for us to get a Nintendo, boys.
Oh yeah,
so that's why he finally chimed in. But he's I appreciate that Miles.
There
and
is a new WoW expansion coming.
Yes,
I did forget about that.
Oh, okay. Is it? It's not. What was the? I'm trying to think of the last one. Was it the one where they went back in time? That's the one. Actually, I haven't played that
Panda one.
No, the Panda. No, I've played the Panda one. It was the one after that where they went back in time and kind of rewrote the orc history.
Oh, did they get rid of Orc Moses?
I have no idea. That's the only expansion I haven't played. So, but anyways, I'll let you guys get back to it. I apologize. For this.
No, that's awesome. So yeah, Fallout 76 coming in November. They've got a dedicated server, and there's a beta coming. So
yeah,
people who are interested can give it a shot.
Yeah.
And then we have there was the Starfield reveal, which was first wholly new IP for Bethesda in 25 years.
Yeah, that's nuts.
It's crazy.
Yeah. No,
and again, we kind of just got, we got like the Metroid Prime 4 treatment from last year, just kind of a title screen. But I think that stuff works at E3, and that's something we'll get to it later. But that's something I was disappointed in Nintendo in. I think we could have gotten a title screen for something that's in development. Even if it just started,
right.
Give us something.
Right. And Starfield's been kicked around at Bethesda for at least the last 10 years. Even in the documentary that they did, they acknowledge it, that they don't say it by name because obviously the doc went up about 2 days prior to the show. But they do acknowledge in that documentary that, we've had this space idea and we've just never been able to quite make it work, and the technology's not really there. Obviously, Starfield's coming. It's going to be a next-gen game. They've already said as much. So PlayStation 5, Xbox 2, or whatever crazy name Microsoft's going to give it. I'm looking forward to it. Fallout / Skyrim in space sounds pretty dang cool. I'm all about it.
Yeah, I saw something on Twitter that was like, Bethesda bugs in space.
You guys have been hanging out with Sarah in the chat too much. Coming up with these names like that now.
Yeah.
Skyrim in space.
I'm surprised she didn't get me on Fox Zelda earlier, but,
Well, she's got to see the game and,
True.
kind of pick up what she picks up on and then name the game, like Caveman Sims, Far Cry Primal.
Yeah.
And just stick to it.
Yeah, exactly.
From there on out.
She is remarkably good at it, because whenever she does it, I know exactly what game she's talking about. There's never any question.
She's really good with the words. I'm really good with the numbers. That's just how it works.
There you go.
And then we had, you were mentioning like these bridge titles earlier, but then we had the Elder Scrolls 6 reveal, which again, title screen just kind of felt like fan service, but
yeah, I mean,
can't hurt,
Nobody was in legitimate fear of Skyrim not getting a sequel. Probably the single most ported game ever, other than maybe a Mario title or something.
Right. They did that cool
Solitaire.
bit with Keegan-Michael Key, and I mean, it was kind of like blatant product placement, but I thought the Alexa bit was like, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do the synergy bit, make it funny, and that worked.
I approve of that. I don't want a smart refrigerator, but I definitely would be able to just like sit there and play Skyrim on my Alexa, which I've got the VR for that. I need to get back into that. So
they had you can get the Skyrim for Alexa thing is real.
Oh,
you can go to Amazon and
I saw that.
You can have them. You can download it through your.
See, I figured it being on Alexa and the fridge was completely just all jokes.
The fridge was a total
fridge,
joke,
yes.
but the Alexa thing is real. I don't know how deep it lets you go, but it is real.
Interesting.
Yeah,
good to know.
There's some pretty good memes. I saw like someone mocked it up as like running on a Pokemon Tamagotchi.
Oh, that is a throwback. Yep, Taylor just confirmed the Skyrim for Alexa is real. So we'll need to get Sarah to name Skyrim on Alexa for us.
I do like his next Xbox name, just Edgebox.
With plenty of X's before and after.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, you got to let the X-Bros know, where it's going. It's fantastic.
I think that kind of does it for Bethesda. Anything else on your end, Trev?
No, I mean, they had the mobile demo for Skyrim, or not Skyrim, but Elder Scrolls Blades or whatever. Looked kind of neat for what it was, as mobile games go, but really past that, no. I mean, again, I think they were probably the single strongest showing of anybody at the show, start to finish.
They're up there for sure, for me as well. We can probably kind of blaze through this one, but Square Enix is next.
Yeah, basically nothing new.
I mean, nothing bad, but nothing new. So it just kind of fell flat for me.
Yeah, and admittedly, I think they were kind of blown by a leak. I think Just Cause 4 was supposed to be their bigger heavy hitter this year. Because there hadn't even been a murmur of a hint of a rumor about that game coming, and then a day before the show, Steam leaks it in their advertising for pre-orders, and then Square's just like, yep, it's coming.
Yep.
And again, they were kind of blown. Now that said, the game looks absolutely incredible. The dynamic weather system stuff that they're doing with it, with the tornadoes. I don't know if you're at all familiar with the series. I've played the last, I never played the original, but the second and third titles are fantastic, ridiculous fun. Just blowing.
I think I snagged 3 on, I think it was up on PlayStation Plus.
Yeah.
But I haven't put a ton of hours into it.
Yeah. I mean, if you sit down on a random Saturday afternoon and give it 6 hours of your time, which admittedly is a lot more hours than I think it is when I say that out loud. But if you give it a few hours of your time, you're never not going to have fun just blowing stuff up. So those games are always fun and silly, and it looks like this one might be a little darker tone, but that's okay because you're still going to blow things up. So I'm good with it.
Right.
Kingdom Hearts. I don't know how excited everybody here is for that. I haven't touched it since the first one.
I bought the remix version 6 months ago, and again, just haven't really touched it.
Yeah,
I take that back. I got like a few. I got to, I guess, the Nexus point. I guess in the first game there, but I got distracted by other stuff.
Yeah.
So
how about you,
I actually
Neil?
thought that Sony, had a better trailer for it than Square themselves did.
Yeah.
Visually, I mean, really impressive. I thought of that. There's kind of been that, I don't know if it's misquoted or actually true, but there's like that 1999 quote during the, I guess it would have been the PlayStation 2 about Toy Story level graphics in game, and seeing that, I was like, oh, we're really almost there. It truly had that like Disney Pixar look to it. And I was excited for it after seeing Sony's trailer for it, but Square's kind of entire conference was just like, all right.
Yeah, and the thing I did appreciate was that, like Nintendo, they just sort of pre-taped it. They had a good pace to it. You got through it. It wasn't a slog through the whole thing.
Let's see. I feel like we can move on from there unless you have anything else. For me, I kind of put Square showing like just ahead of EA as far as kind of being in the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, I mean that's not entirely their fault, but yeah, if they're not bringing a Final Fantasy or on the Enix side of the house like a new Dragon Warrior or something like that, it just seems like they kind of phoned it in, and it is what it is. So moving on is fine. As far as Taylor goes, Devolver is coming. I did watch it. It was fantastic. We'll talk about that towards the end.
I think we got Ubisoft up next.
Yep. So
I felt like there was some serious bloat in this showing, like the dancing panda, the like creative director from Trials coming in on the dirt bike. I'm just like, I don't need to see this stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone there needs to either, but
yeah,
I guess they were trying for the like live spectacle thing.
Right. I think they were the most old school E3 presentation of any company.
Totally.
With the awkward bits all over. Everybody knows what Just Dance is at this point. It's been coming out every year for a decade. Do we need a dancing panda? No, we don't.
I think it's actually coming. What was it? So this is Just Dance 2019?
Yes.
It's coming to Wii.
Oh, yeah. Actually, yeah. They are still the only company making a Wii, because people still play it on the Wii. Keith is looking at me like I'm from Mars. For those who cannot see.
2019 game coming to the Wii.
Yeah.
It's like for the nursing home audience, I feel like.
Yeah, if you're going to break a hip, do it trying to do the electric slide.
Is it weirder that they're going it for the Wii, and would it be weirder if they were doing it for the Wii U? I'm trying to figure out, like, it's just...
Is it skipping Wii U? I think it might be.
It's probably...
it's coming to Switch and Wii, I believe.
Yeah, I would imagine it's skipping Wii U because it just doesn't have the market penetration that the Wii did. The Wii sold over 100 million.
I see. I don't get.
Yeah, Wii U topped out at like 13.6 or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know. Sarah and I are probably some of the few Wii U enthusiasts. Like
Me too.
Okay, it's just
I got one.
the Wii. We have had a lot of fun with the Wii U.
Yeah.
You know, it's more now. Granted, it's not like we spend a lot of time personally gaming on it like you do with, what's the word? You know, not like we do with the Switch, where Sarah can spend hours on Stardew Valley, or I can go with the Wii U and play Smash till my heart's content. But the Wii U is when we have friends and a group come over, that Wii U comes out.
Bam. Yeah.
And oddly enough, it's for the game that came with it, Nintendo Land. That's all you really ever need to. If you buy the Wii, I mean, you can play card on it too, but now we've got the Switch and we just play card on that. But you can actually, the game that comes with the Wii U is worth it for the price of the Wii if you like hosting people.
I bought the Wii U and I got 3 games with it, and it was a Black Friday deal for like $400 or whatever.
Yeah.
Never opened my copy of Nintendo Land.
Oh no, you'll get lost in that game, dude. Sarah and I, go ahead.
How full is your amusement park? You have like all the little set pieces?
Oh, we've got a lot, yeah. And we've played that Price is Right knockoff game plenty of times to get all of them, as many as we can. We got a lot of the themes. I don't know, the Luigi's Mansion is a fun one. You play as the ghost, you try to capture that. I'm distracting. I'm talking about games for like an old system. You know what? I'm just going to shut up.
No.
You boys go back to it. So we can talk Wii U games in the Slack.
I think we talked about it in the Slack like a few weeks ago, but it was kind of like Nintendo Land was where the concept of like the asymmetrical gameplay kind of died. There's like Zombie U and Nintendo Land, and it unfortunately was just the wrong time for that console. And I knew, like, I was there day one, like waiting outside Best Buy, and I just like walked in and picked up the deluxe 32 gig model like right off the shelf, and I'm like, where's everybody else, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, we can move on from the Wii U, but I love it. You know, some of my favorite Nintendo games are on that platform. They brought a new IP with Splatoon. Mario Kart 8 was phenomenal. Super Mario World. So
yeah,
all Wii U fans here.
Oh yeah, I will defend that system till I die.
Do you want to do Beyond Good and Evil 2? That was kind of that was a big one for.
So I don't know how you felt about it, but I was a little mixed on it. The new stuff they showed, you know, I mean, as far as the rendered stuff goes, looked just as good as anything they showed last year, but minimal gameplay, and then they kind of ended it a little weak with the like, hey, please help us finish your game with art assets and stuff. You can go to this website, and if you can do that,
your
that'd
comment
be really
got me
cool.
when we were talking in Slack.
Yeah.
I mean, the CG trailer looked really impressive and like high production value, but that's kind of all we saw. And then they bring out Joseph Gordon-Levitt to unveil this new kind of collaborative platform, which sounds kind of cool. And I didn't think of it the way you kind of posed it. Like, help us finish our game, please.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm still not sure like how they're going to, what the compensation is for any kind of contribution, other than maybe just like, hey, look, your art or your music is in our game. But it was a weird moment for sure.
Yeah, it was just very the Beyond Good and Evil 2 stuff was just very all over the place, and it makes me wonder if we're going to see that game this generation, with the issues they've had, even getting that game started. If they're really having this much trouble after another full year, being able to show us anything more than about 10 whole seconds of gameplay, I really do wonder if maybe it's a horsepower issue, or if it's just a development turmoil issue, because things have not been steady at Ubisoft in the last year or so, because of them fighting off a merger attempt from Vivendi. There's been a lot going on in that studio, and I just kind of wonder if maybe that's catching up to that game more than any others, because that is the one Ubisoft title, other than Mario Rabbids, I guess, that's not an open world sandbox Ubisoft game in the mold of Assassin's Creed or, you know, Ghost Recon or something.
Right. Well, I mean, there's a lot going on there, right? Like, it's a massive open world, and they're talking about this, you know, it's completely seamless. So yeah. I could certainly see them running into development issues with it.
Sure, and I'm trying not to be critical of it. I want that game. The original stands as probably one of my top 15 games ever. Especially narratively, it told an incredible story. So I want that second game, but it just seems like they're having more trouble with it than they're not, I guess. It's kind of a weird deal for them.
And then I kind of talked about it earlier, but we had the creative director for Trials, the like modern Excite Bike whatever game come in on dirt bike, and I actually I think I had like Trials, what was it? What, like the second or third
probably Fusion
version of it on 360, and I had a lot of fun with the game. It's fun, arcadey. You know, you die a lot. There's a lot of like ragdoll physics. I'm happy it's coming to Switch.
Yeah,
but it's still, I don't need a guy to come in on a motorcycle for that.
Well, exactly. It was kind of, again, it was just another one of those things where it was like, have we not moved past this yet? And how have you not learned? But at the same time, I will say they moved on once they got done with Trials, which I do look forward to, because as a physics-based racer, it's really fun. They did move on to one of the coolest things of all of E3 with Starlink.
Yes.
The Battle for Atlas. And Starlink was a game that I had forgotten about until they brought it back up on stage and showed it, and then dropped a nice little bomb for us Star Fox fans and showed us the R-Wing and Fox in the game. And for those who don't know, Starlink is going to have kind of a Toys to Life angle, although it was unveiled at E3 today on the show floor that you will not, if you buy the game, you will not have to purchase the toys to get the ships and all the ship parts. So
That's
that
so
is
excellent. That's such
wholly
a
optional.
good maneuver on their part.
Yes, because I think one of the biggest things that killed stuff like Disney Infinity or really any of the Toys to Life stuff that hasn't been Skylanders was just that, oh, well, to get this content, you have to have the toy. Well, what do I do with 47,000 Lego sets if I don't have the shelf space? And trust me, I love Lego, but I don't have the room.
You go to the Container Store and you put all of them in the container that you buy, that you made sure that would fit each and every one of them, and you space out what the small containers you originally had, how many more you think you need, and it's a really a trial and error process for that game. So as someone who has almost every Lego set for Lego Dimensions and still really loves, and see Sarah echoed it, you spend hours in the Container Store because we sat there and I'm like, all right, I've got this 6-quart container now. It holds most of them, but I know I'm going to be getting this next wave coming out, so I should probably get like a 12-quart. Yeah, it was
sure, but at the same time, you know, if you're a parent, do you want to go through that rigmarole so that your kid can play the Back to the Future pack of the game? Like, no,
tough crap. They shouldn't have had kids.
Well,
I mean, kids are expensive.
Sure, I'm just saying, like it's one of those problems.
Do they not love their kids?
I mean, hypothetically, who knows?
It's a fair point.
But like the Toys to Life genre has really kind of fallen off huge in the last few weeks.
It was a limited business model, but those Disney Infinity sculpts were still really well done.
Sure, but even Nintendo, like with the amiibo, they, other than when they get a really desirable amiibo out there, most of the amiibos I see are, it's like, oh, King Day Day.
Animal Crossing.
Yeah, Animal Crossing. I don't know how many golden Marios I've seen out there in the world. Like, nobody cares. It's just.
I have a Mega Man one that's pretty good as far as amiibos go, and and my Mew. Yeah. We've also got one of the 8-bit Mario, which is pretty cool. I got that just because it was the 8-bit Mario on the pipe. I was like, yeah, that's cool.
I am still looking for a Little Mac.
Oh yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, there's none out there.
I got you on that.
Yeah,
I think Wii Fit Trainer was actually the first one I got because I was like listening to an episode of Nintendo Voice Chat, and they're like, go after these characters that no one cares about because those are going to be the like limited production line.
Yeah, makes sense.
No, I desperately wanted Little Mac, but I was also in Bahrain when they launched, and I couldn't do anything about it. I ended up with a Mega Man and my Metroid, my Metroid remake ones from this last fall. Yeah, the 2-pack with the squishy Metroid and Samus crouched down like on the cover of Metroid 2. And those are both cool. They're fantastic, but I'm still really digging on that Little Mac. So if anybody out there's got one, just send it my way.
I will be getting the Starlink R-Wing though.
Yes,
absolutely.
And I think we've got a picture of that, or he might have already put it up. Yep.
It's already up.
Sweet. Yeah, there's the whole deluxe set. It looks really cool. I am thoroughly looking forward to that. Yeah, it's going to be nice to be able to play a game where Star Fox is shooting things out of the sky, as I would hope him to do in all of his games.
That was kind of their, like, it felt like their Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle moment from last year's E3 of, bringing Miyamoto up on stage.
Yeah.
I did think it was a little weird when they gave him the gift and they're like, hey, there's a whole team of people backstage that really want to meet you. Like they were springing it on him for the first time. Like he would decline in front of all these people.
Yeah, that would have been awful.
But I saw a couple things come through from like Kotaku and people seem to be really pleasantly surprised by the gameplay. So I'm definitely picking that one up.
Yep.
Oh, and then they did the like Grant Kirkhope piece with the Donkey Kong Adventure Mario plus Rabbids DLC.
Yeah.
Really cool. Love Grant Kirkhope from Donkey Kong, Perfect Dark, Banjo-Kazooie soundtracks.
Right.
Really cool, but I didn't need, like we were talking in the chat, I didn't need all the pomp and circumstance for DLC that's part of a season pass that I already purchased. Just kind of seemed like a little intermission bit.
Well, and it's DLC that wasn't being freshly announced either. We've known this is coming.
Yeah.
For a good,
That was odd.
Probably 5-6 months, we've known that there was DK DLC coming for that game. So, yeah, the pomp and circumstance, like you said, it was excessive, but that's in keeping with the whole presentation from Ubisoft. Everything was excessive,
right?
So hopefully Ubisoft dials it back a notch next year and maybe figures out that we should probably focus on the games.
That style presentation doesn't have much more life left in it. I mean, they can't do that more than like 2 years out in the future.
Yeah.
So I guess the real big one for them, Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, and I mean, I get it. But it's the 11th mainline Assassin's Creed game in something like 13 or 14 years. I burned out on the series back at 4 with Black Flag. I haven't touched another one since, and I have no interest in this one. I wish I did. It's set in ancient Greece. That's cool. You're getting a female protagonist, which I'm sure half the internet was enraged within 10 seconds of that being unveiled. It just is what it is as far as that kind of stupid reaction thing goes. But the gameplay looks okay, but we've been here, we've done this. Who cares? And
that's why I fell away with what was the last one? Or Origins?
Yeah. Or Ancient Egypt. Yeah.
Yeah. I played up until, oh man, I can't think of the game title now because Sarah's got me so programmed. Steampunk Gang Wars. What was the one in Britain? The London one?
Unity.
Unity. Okay, that was the last one I played. Origins didn't excite me because I'm in the same boat. It's at this point, I mean, I mean, Odyssey seems cooler than Origins, but whatever.
We're gonna have to.
It's a cool historical set piece, but combat. I mean, I just feel like you're doing the same thing over and over in those games, and 4 or 5 hours in, I'm just kind of like, all right, I'm good here.
Oh, nope. Taylor corrected us. Syndicate. Yep. Yeah. Sorry, not Unity. Syndicate.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Continue, boys.
So the big things with Ubisoft that really kind of got to me more than anything was there was no Splinter Cell, and there hasn't been one in a long time, and that's frustrating. And for me personally, this is also going to resurface with Nintendo later. There are certain series that I just want to see come back, and I will begrudgingly hold on to it until they do. Where is Prince of Persia? Why has that series died? Why can't we get even just one? It's been 10 years. Please, just give me a Prince of Persia game. Other than that, Ubisoft, I do give them credit for having the one RTS in the PC Gaming Showcase, Anno 1800. Looked pretty good for what it was. Historical thing. A lot of naval combat, which is pretty cool because hooray, go Navy. But yeah.
That's it for me on Ubisoft. I mean, not terrible, but just kind of a little bit of a cringy conference, and
Yeah, that's really where it was. But
so who do you guys have left on the list here?
I have got just a couple.
Sony and Nintendo.
All right, let's hit them up because we're pushing that 2-hour mark. So
we are. Good Lord.
Yep, time flies.
I'm just so passionate. I just want to keep talking. Now, all right. So Sony or Nintendo first?
Oh man. I'll let you make the call.
So, I'm making the call. Sony. Right. Go Sony, and then wrap it up with Nintendo.
I was going Sony. Okay. All right. So Sony, they came out prior to, and they were pretty clear about what their whole show was even really going to be. It was going to be 4 games: Spider-Man, Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, and Death Stranding. Spider-Man coming out in 3 months, made by Insomniac, people who made Ratchet and Clank, and a few other games here and there. Sunset Overdrive on the Xbox One. Absolutely incredible looking. And another friend of mine who's unfortunately not able to join us in the chat never shuts up about Spider-Man. Knows that I'm burned out on the character because of his 37 movies in the last decade. And even then, Spider-Man is a day one purchase for me because that game looks absolutely fantastic.
The gameplay video was out, I think, published today to YouTube, and I sat there and watched it. I was like, and I, because it went through the kind of the intro level, so you saw the controls and that kind of thing. So it got me familiar with how the controls are going to work, and I'm in. I'm buying the collector's edition. They've got
Was
me.
that the Electro?
No,
that
was kind of like that was almost a trailer for me, honestly. No, they released actual like the floor gameplay from E3 essentially.
Okay.
So and it showed the commands for like the press R2 to swing, release R2 to swing, let go kind of thing. And it was just showing the different commands for the different attacks, the purchase, if you want to like zip line and then perch, that kind of stuff. And it looks pretty fluid. And I think once you get get used to the controls and how things work and the dynamics of Spider-Man and that character and all he's capable of, because he's gonna be capable of a lot. I'm in. I'm done. They've got me.
Yeah, that
hook,
game
line,
looks
and sinker.
Incredible.
Yeah. Well, and Sunset Overdrive was not a great game in total, but the movement system in that game was absolutely fantastic, and it looks like everything they learned from that experience has come into Spider-Man, been refined, distilled down to its best parts, and just, okay, boom, here's Spider-Man, go.
Yep.
And, yeah.
Neil, you mentioned the Electro thing where he was trying to round up the villains from the raft, which is out there so you guys can see it, but there's been a lot of talk about who the mystery villain is.
Right.
Do we have any? I just want to chime in and ask what y'all's thoughts are if you saw the...
If you've got the Sinister Six and we still haven't seen Doc Ock, unless there's something I missed, I gotta think it's gotta be him.
Yeah, Neil?
Yeah. That would be my educated guess as well, but like not being a Spider-Man super fan, I don't know how much my opinion's worth on that, but that seems to kind of be the consensus.
See, Taylor seems to think it's Kingpin, and Doc Ock seems like the easy answer, and I'd be totally fine if it's Doc Ock.
Yeah.
But some of the other footage we've seen, Osborn's in this game.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me if we actually had a solid Goblin appearance in this game. Because, we saw the light, and there was a mechanical whirring noise in the background. So people think it's Doc Ock's, metallic arms with the light and stuff, a la Spider-Man 2. Taylor thinks it's Kingpin, which is possible because we've seen Kingpin as well. But, that light can also come from a Goblin glider. And also, the mechanical noise could be the actual glider itself.
Could be.
Just my thoughts. I'd be okay with either Goblin or Doc Ock. Just wanted to kind of...
Curveball, Kraven the Hunter, go.
I'm okay with that, too. So, Taylor also says we need 38 Spider-Man movies, so I don't disagree. I will never get tired of Spider-Man. The Andrew Garfield ones were the weakest.
Yeah, they were.
But that's a whole other topic for a whole other time. So what else did Sony give us?
All right, so...
then we had Last of Us Part 2.
Best game
really
ever.
Brutal trailer, and some really impressive gameplay mechanics, some stealth gameplay. I have to be honest, like I don't know if it's because I've like stumbled across too many live leak videos, but there's a certain amount of escapism that I'm looking for in video games, and this is such a wuss comment, but the brutality of that game, it's not necessarily what I'm looking for. Like something like God of War, I can totally get behind because there's still this like fantasy element, but like all the throat slitting, it looks like an incredibly built game. I don't know if I'll be picking it up.
I'm getting it. The Last of Us is the first game is easily top 10 games of all time for me.
Yeah. So the first game I played out in Bahrain, and I had to play it in chunks. I couldn't sit and just... It was one of the rare games that I've ever come across that I couldn't just blitz. And I loved it. I wanted to do that, but I couldn't because there are so many moments throughout the narrative that are just so damn devastating and soul crushing in part that it was like, okay, I'm going to take off the headset. I'm going to go sit down, drink a beer, and chill the hell out because this is too much.
Yeah, it's a heavy game.
Yeah, it is brutal in its efficiency in getting to you as a player, and this looks similar. I don't blame you at all, and it's definitely. I don't think Naughty Dog wants to make a game for everyone. I think they want to make their game, and that's when Naughty Dog is at their best, especially since they can always go, well, Uncharted's over there for you.
They released a
Yeah.
statement because people were complaining about the violence in the game, and they basically said, you know, hey, we're adults making games for adults, so if you don't like it, tough shit, essentially.
Yeah.
Totally. I take no issue with it whatsoever. It's as you know, obviously coming from the Nintendo side of things, it's like the polar opposite of anything they would ever do, which is obviously why a lot of people like it.
Yeah. Now, as far as escapism goes, though, Sony still had you covered because, I mean, Spider-Man, obviously. But then Ghost of Tsushima,
Ah,
oh my god.
that game. I mean, for the art style alone, I'll buy that game.
Yeah.
But I kind of thought that the combat would be a little like slow and clunky, but it just, you know, all the swordplay mechanics, kind of like the slow down, like lock on stuff that was happening. I'm so into that game. I really like. I think I mentioned to you like the opening sequence where the main character kind of steps out onto that cliff and is like overlooking a plateau. It really gave me Breath of the Wild vibes, like both in art style and just the overall setting. Like there's that little bit of cell shading going on, and then he hops on a horse and takes off through this field of wouldn't make sense that that's wheat, but it looked like wheat. Game just looked so beautiful.
It did, and you know they gave me something I forgot I needed. It's gonna be Throat Rips the game for me. The stealth kill with the throat rip absolutely got me to scream in approval. Not every game elicits that kind of reaction. But it does. It looks absolutely stunning. We've got the sunset battle up on the screen right now, and that's just a sampling of what that game showed off. And the combat, I like that there's no HUD. I like that there's nothing on the screen except for your character and what you are doing. So hopefully that stays all the way to the end whenever Sucker Punch gets this game out into the world. But yeah, it is stunning, and I'm definitely that's another day one purchase.
Day one for me too. Yeah, I started playing God of War in cinematic mode a little too late, but it reminded me of that. There's just there's no anything on screen. It's just purely cinematic, and yeah, brutal and beautiful look at ancient Japan.
Yeah, I don't know, like that's really all there is to say about it. It's just go look up the videos yourself. It's absolutely stunning.
Yep, it'll sell you on it.
So then, kind of the most confusing game of the show for the last few years now.
Can't forget the Resident Evil 2 remake. I just gotta slide that in there.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that after this next one. So yeah, we'll jump to that momentarily. Death Stranding, Hideo Kojima, Guillermo del Toro joint. Did we learn anything about this game that we didn't already know?
Yeah, do we know less? Yeah, I mean, I'm still super intrigued. It looks fun. I think we kind of were seeing some gameplay there when he was using the baby with the little like death detector thing that's strapped to him to kind of, you know, navigate through all these shadow creatures.
Yeah,
looks really fun. Looks so wild and trippy. The whole time though, I was just, okay, if this is what you're doing, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I think I said in the chat, this is going to be Kojima's magnum opus of weirdness. it's definitely headed that way, and I don't feel like we learned anything, even though we actually did see gameplay. So it's kind of weird that here we are. This is at least the third year, I think, that we've shown this game, or been shown this game, and we don't know anything more than the first time we saw a baby come out of what looked like a puddle of oil. And
Right.
I'm confused. I'm intrigued, but there's going to have to come a point here, and I think what we saw from Sony here was Spider-Man coming out in the next 3 months. Last of Us Part 2, that's probably the heavy hitter for next fall. That's my somewhat educated guess. Ghost of Tsushima did not have a release date. If I had to speculate, it's probably going to fit in that God of War spring of 20 slot, where it's kind of the last big release on just the PS4, with
Right.
2020 fall being where you get Death Stranding on PS4 and PS5 as kind of that bridge game, and we move on into the next generation, because there's been no hint of a release date. There's only been a couple of minutes of gameplay. It's already been 3 years. If we're not seeing anything that, if we're not seeing anything past that now, I just kind of feel like we're probably headed for the next gen, or a bridge to the next gen with that game.
Right. We did learn there was that one little cutscene where the female character is telling Norman Reedus' character that if these things touch you, time speeds up. So I know we're dealing with some sort of, multiple timeline thing that made me think that maybe the baby is him. Or,
Yeah.
a younger version of himself. But I mean, other than that, we really didn't learn anything.
Right. And that's what's crazy. Like, if I have to chauffeur myself around in a crazy wonderland of time warping bug things, that's cool. Just tell me that's what's happening.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, the one big thing here. So Sony's press conference was kind of stilted because they had a 15-minute intermission after coming out with Last of Us 2. I felt like that was a huge missed opportunity, and the reason I feel that way is because of the game you mentioned earlier, Resident Evil 2, getting a remake. Instead of having a 15-minute intermission with a couple of videos for some games that had already been kind of shown on Twitter or Facebook or whatever in their countdown to E3, I think that would have been a perfect time to kind of do the here's upcoming, montage of what's coming in the next year. And then at the end of that, have your Resident Evil 2 reveal. And then, okay, yeah, if we're going to go to this bench of people talking, now you've got a guy from Capcom, you've got another guy from Capcom playing it, and this guy's telling us something. And so we actually see something. Because as it is, they've shown about 15 minutes of gameplay on the show floor a full day after the conference, when, a lot of us are kind of like, okay, well, E3's over as far as I go,
Right. Yeah, I heard that they actually were they were moving. That's what that 15-minute intermission was. They were moving everyone to a different building.
They were.
That's the thing. I loved everything Sony had to show. I feel like the twilight years of the PS4 look excellent. There's so much to look forward to.
Yes.
But the format of the conference, I just felt like it kind of insisted upon itself that this is the way we have to do it. And some of it was cool. The banjo player was cool. The weird Japanese flautist guy, whatever that instrument was, it's cool stuff, but it seemed unnecessary and just a little silly.
The musical performances I didn't mind as much, because those guys are actually the guy on the banjo is the guy who wrote the soundtrack for the first Last of Us and is doing the soundtrack for this one. So okay, fine, he has a reason to be there technically.
Right.
And then if you want to kind of get the crowd drawn in on it, I get that. But if you're gonna do this thing where you're gonna set up the tent from the trailer thing that you're about to show / gameplay of Last of Us for that crowd, maybe have something on deck for the crowd who's sitting at home, who can't be there, who don't have to move, who don't want to move because we're on our couches, and then drop that Resident Evil 2 reveal in there. Give us a good 10 minutes of gameplay while we're waiting on the show to continue. You don't lose that momentum.
Yeah. Resident Evil 2 remake looks incredible. It's great seeing Leon, like the updated graphics look beautiful. I would still put Sony's conference like up in the top, even though there weren't a ton of surprises. Just everything they showed looked so excellent, so well done. I mean, other than Death Stranding being somewhat like confounding, it still looks very well done. So yeah, that was a win for me, even though that like some of the conference was a little stilted, like you said.
Out of the big three, I had them number one, just because all four of their big heavy hitters hit exactly the way they should have. They're all day one purchases as far as I'm concerned, as at least for me. They didn't bring the quantity that Microsoft did, but they certainly brought quality, and that excites me. And then that Resident Evil 2 remake was just icing on the cake, because, you know, now I can actually finish that game because it's not clunky tank controls that suck.
Totally.
Okay, so since we're kind of in the last stage here, let's jump over to Nintendo. Maybe the most frustrating of the three.
You seemed a little more positive than I was immediately coming out of it.
Yeah.
And I've come down a little bit, but I'm still sticking to like fairly disappointed. But I'll let you weigh in on the more positive side.
Okay. Well, obviously, Super Smash Bros. Bringing back every character that's ever been in any of them, and now we're adding in Ridley from Metroid, which I kind of felt was... I mean, fans have been asking for Ridley from Metroid for years, but I
Killed
also...
off a lot of memes with that inclusion.
Yeah, and I do think that it was kind of Nintendo's throwing the fans a bone because they knew they weren't bringing Metroid. So let's reveal this character, because I'm sure we're going to see more than just Ridley. Rumor has it tonight at the Smash tournament there's going to be at least one more. So that was great. I appreciate that they did that. My favorite character, Snake from Metal Gear Solid, is coming back. So that made me super happy.
Voiced by David Hayter?
Yes, exactly. And that was going to be another thing I was going to say.
Sorry.
No, you're good, man. Step on my toes. It is all good. So Super Mario Party. I am not a big Mario Party guy. But the screen trick with the ad hoc, where they set down the two switches, and then all of a sudden the screens like just worked in conjunction with each other. That is a marvel.
I want to buy a second Switch
now
for our
we know
house.
that the Switches can talk to one another, which we weren't sure about that, you know? Which leaves me kind of hopeful that they'd potentially bring back the Street Pass feature of the 3DS that I actually loved. But did you see the patent that was illustrated in like only a couple months prior?
Oh wow! No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it showed pretty much exactly like what they showed in the Mario Party trailer of like, you know, two tablets on a table and like tilting it and having a ball roll from the tilted tablet down onto the other one. Of course, it's a patent, so it's written extremely vaguely, but it was interesting to see something that was so fresh. Typically, like, you know, Nintendo doesn't use all of those ideas as it is, but to see it so immediately in the game was pretty interesting.
Yeah. So Super Mario Party got my attention, and that's more than any Mario Party game has ever been able to say. So, you know, who knows? Maybe I'll scoop it up, bring it over to Casa de Keith and Sarah and the Popped Cave, if you will.
Yes.
And we'll throw down on some Mario Party.
We still play Mario Party. The Wii U had a fun little Mario Party. Was it? I think Mario Party 8, since this was 9. Made use of the screen in the Wii U very well, and we enjoyed that one. You know, Waluigi will be in Mario Party, but he will not be in Smash, though. So maybe Waluigi will be the one who gets revealed tonight after the tournament, because
it could very well be.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention #Justice for Waluigi.
If he was
doing Sarah right there.
Yeah. If he was an actual like established character, I would care more. I just can't.
I didn't realize it was a thing until today.
But
you know,
I,
see, there you go. There it is. Hashtag justice
He'd be
for
a weird
Waluigi.
character for a final reveal for Smash, I feel like, but maybe.
yeah,
I don't want to dash the hopes and dreams of the
especially
Waluigi fan base.
as long as people have been asking for like King K. Rool out of the Donkey Kong Country series and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they need kind of, well, I guess Ridley's probably going to be a bigger, heavy character, but
Right.
so we had Fire Emblem that got shown. That was briefly hinted at last year. Fire Emblem.
Disappointing though that was on the quarterly investors report as being a 2018 title, and I think
Yeah.
a lot of us Nintendo fans were expecting this to be like the September or October game, and spring 2019 that kind of stung for me. I'm a huge Fire Emblem fan, and that looks like there's some of the like overworld map stuff that looked kind of empty and plain. I'm bummed that that's a ways off, and I don't think it's just for saving space in the release schedule. I think there's some development stuff going on there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, new platform and everything. I mean, Intelligent Systems, I'm sure, is working diligently to try to take advantage of the Switch, but I think we're probably going to see that with some of these games that are making that leap from the DS primarily to a bigger, more powerful console. There hasn't been a home version of a console version of Fire Emblem since the GameCube. So it makes sense to me that maybe there might be some developmental issues there that they didn't necessarily anticipate versus other prior experiences on a platform that they've been toying with for the last decade now.
Sure. I mean, it looks good. It looks like maybe there's more interaction with like large armies rather than like individual soldiers.
Right.
And then some of the stuff where it like zooms in and then you're in like this, third person perspective kind of reminded me of the visuals from Fire Emblem Warriors. So I dig that direction, but I just wish it was coming sooner.
Yeah, I mean,
The upcoming release schedule looks a little light on the Nintendo side.
it does, and the no-show from Yoshi was equal parts unanticipated and also just completely bizarre, I guess.
I don't know what's going on there unless like they haven't, because I guess Epic kind of spoiled that game is being built on Unreal Engine 4. Like maybe they're having some issues with the platform. One thing I noticed, because there was actually gameplay, I guess, at last year's Treehouse.
Right.
It's this 2D side scroller, but there's flip mechanics where you kind of like flip the world around, and then there's different things happening on the back side of these set pieces. One thing I noticed is you're kind of aiming this crosshair at enemies in the foreground and background, but you're not in a three-dimensional space.
Right.
And kind of aiming that crosshair at some of the characters seemed really slow. And I could see that being a really like frustrating gameplay aspect that maybe they're trying to figure that out because it's just not fun or it's not working right. But yeah, that's another big disappointment for me. Like between, Fire Emblem getting delayed, no Yoshi, and then nothing else for Metroid. I mean, we just got the title screen last year. Like, give me a trailer the scope of the Ridley reveal, and I'm happy.
Right.
But just nothing.
Yeah, I didn't really expect gameplay out of Metroid, but at least some acknowledgement that, hey, we're still working on it. It's coming. Oh, by the way, here's a cool little clip, like maybe, just the ship and Samus in the Varia suit doing her thing, like something, anything. And instead it was just kind of, okay, well, we'll reveal Ridley and hopefully the Metroid fanboys won't get too mad at us. At least that's kind of how it felt to me, because I was happy to see Ridley, but at the same time, I was like, well, how did we just do 45 minutes and no Metroid after a year?
Going back to Smash, and I know we got to wrap up soon here, but I'm stoked. I think it's funny that there was this huge debate about, Smash a port or is this a new game? And it's like no one wins in that argument. It's both. It's like it's a port of every Smash before it, So like we're getting everything. I think that's great. I think like the redesigned DS stages look incredible.
Yes.
I was kind of underwhelmed by like the live stream, but then once I saw some of the stuff on the show floor, this is a beautiful looking game, 1080p, 60 frames per second docked. And then I think it's 720p, 60 frames per second undocked. That's fantastic. Performance is going to be great.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for this next Smash. I've heard that it like characters feel weightier. It's faster. It's not quite as fast as Melee, but faster than Smash 4, which is good for me.
Yeah.
But just how long they focused on it and some of what they showed. I mean, if you're not a Smash fan, this Nintendo Direct had to just like,
oh god,
you're just tuning out. I mean, they literally showed the 2 different character designs for Ike from Fire Emblem. They're like, oh, and his voice is different, and it's barely different, and it's like, how are we focusing on the minutia of something like this at something like E3? It just seems like this is treehouse stuff. That it just got way too in the weeds for me, and I'm a huge fan. You know, I don't.
Yeah, well, no, and I'm right there with you. Since bringing out the Switch and really righting the ship for themselves, Nintendo's kind of been on a hot streak, and this really felt like the first time that they've stumbled on such a large scale, where it's like, yeah, you came to E3, but you didn't unveil anything new. There was no hint at any other series. There was nothing for the online that's supposed to be coming. There was nothing about classic games. There was nothing for another classic mini console or anything. We've all been waiting to see if we're going to get a Game Boy Classic or if we're going to get a 64 Classic, which would admittedly be tricky because of Rare's absence now. But
sure.
you expected some kind of big heavy hitter, and I think they really banked on, okay, we know Smash will sell, we know Pokemon anything will sell, so here's a little bit of Pokemon.
They're making money this year. I just don't know that they're keeping the fans happy.
Well, it felt very much like it very much felt like, okay, we just have to keep the momentum up. Next year we'll come back and wow them again, or at the next Direct is when we'll really blow the doors off, whatever. But
sure.
This E3 compared to their last E3 just was not nearly as strong a showing.
I mean, like we were saying earlier, I think I had unfair expectations. Like, how are you going to compete with a year like 2017?
Yeah, I mean,
Breath of the Wild, which it's one of my. I'm a huge Zelda fan. It's probably second to Ocarina of Time, my favorite Zelda title. Like when I first stepped out onto the Great Plateau, I was like, I'm a kid again. I am 12 years old, and this game like just has me, And then Mario Odyssey, like to have both of those titles drop in the same year, and like Pokemon looks cool. I'm not a huge Pokemon fan. That seems to skew a little younger.
Yeah.
Smash is amazing, but that's not like this rich single player experience.
No, that's
like with the Fortnite thing, again, they kind of had some of the wind taken out of their sails with the leak that was coming. It's great to have it on Switch, but it's not a huge announcement.
No,
it is kind of interesting. Did you see the Sony Epic account drama? Like that Sony has locked your Epic account to PS4. Like even Microsoft, I think, tweeted Nintendo like, "Hey Nintendo, how about a match?" Like just kind of throwing salt at Sony.
Yeah, and if Sony's got an issue in the last year or so that they need to address, it's this crossplay thing. They need to get away from this, like, well, we're going to be on our own little island thing over here and ignore everybody else. Because when I'm playing Rocket League, which I have on my PS4, I got it through PS Plus years ago for free.
Same.
The problem is, if I'm playing it on Switch, I've got lobbies full of Switch players, PC players, Xbox players. There is always someone to play with on that console. If I hit the East Coast servers at the right time on PlayStation, I've got 3 people to play with.
Man.
And
it's like the privilege of being the winner this console generation, right? But it's
right.
I don't like the way it looks.
Yeah. It just seems like somebody is I know Sony wanted to do cross-generation platform or cross-platform play last generation, and Microsoft shut it down. So I kind of feel like it's just them kind of sticking that back in there this time because they're in a position where they can do it. And it's like, you're only hurting your customers.
Yep.
And that's unfortunate. I hope if there's one thing Sony does do, that they reverse course on that. So,
but I saw that there's like already over 2 million downloads on Switch for Fortnite. So like, yeah, great that they got it on the platform.
Yeah,
I think that will move some systems. I don't know that I'll spend a ton of time with it, but I'm not complaining about it.
No.
A couple things we glossed over. We've got the Octo expansion for Splatoon 2. That was a surprise drop after the Treehouse.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Splatoon fan. I feel like they kind of rushed to get that game out for, just the launch window. It was kind of missing like a single player campaign. So there's this new like 80 level single player sort of cyberpunk mission based expansion where you're playing as an Octoling rather than a squid kid. Really excited about that. It looks fantastic. I'll be playing that tonight.
Sweet.
And then we had the Daemon X Machina reveal that was actually right in the beginning. That was kind of odd, but
but
we were kind of talking about that earlier. There's some crazy talent on that game. They've got like Tekken, Macross,
Armored Core,
Soul Calibur. Yep. So like, there's some great talent working on that game. Not coming till 2019 though. So
sure, but again though, that at least shows that there's another developer that's in on the Switch, and more, especially out of the Japanese development houses, you're seeing that support. One of the big things that I was thoroughly shocked that Nintendo just kind of glossed over in their presentation is that the most unique looking game on their system is coming out next month, and they didn't say a word about it when they said, oh yeah, Octopath Traveler's coming out next month. You know that game you've been curious about since we first showed the Switch? It's out next month.
Yeah,
there will be a new
looks
demo.
Excellent. The collector's edition, God, looks incredible with the little pop-up, 2D art.
Right.
Like it's some sort of pop-up book that comes with it. Like, they're doing the new demo where your save data from the first demo carries over. Just everything about the rollout of that game seems to have been done right. They're like, what do you want to see in this game? What don't you like? We're listening to our fans. I'm so excited about that game, and you're right. I almost forgot because they were just like, yep, and that's coming.
I'm not a big RPG guy or JRPG guy, and I'm intrigued because, again, you have Squaresoft, or now Square Enix.
JRPG?
Japanese RPG.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So,
I hadn't heard. I've heard of MMORPGs. I've heard of RPGs, but JRPG is a whole new one.
Yeah. So think like Final Fantasy type thing.
Okay.
So that's generally the touchstone for the genre.
Gotcha. As you were.
So, but yeah, you have a distinctly Japanese RPG coming to the system from Square for the first time on a Nintendo platform since the Super Nintendo, maybe?
Right, yeah.
I mean,
you might be right.
That's huge.
And that style, that art style is...
Yeah, and they just kind of said, oh yeah, it's coming. New demo. Anyway, let's talk about Smash now for the next 27 minutes. Well, okay, I like Smash. I'm all for it, but where's Octopath? Why aren't we seeing some gameplay? If it's coming out next month, that caught me completely off guard. I thought for sure that was going to be a big fall release, and now just tossing it out in the middle of July, apparently.
July, yeah. Well, we've got probably, at least we've got one more direct coming later in the year that they'll be showing off more stuff. I just got the feeling like maybe something's happening internally over there.
And with a new president taking over the company, there's always the possibility that there's been some shakeups in projects that we don't know about.
To see Kimishima go so soon, just because he was such a gangster.
Yeah, he was different, but it was a good kind of different. So
what made him such a different gangster. For those not following.
Another disappointing aspect of this direct was it was kind of the first time we saw them miss a release date for a game with Fire Emblem. Like Kimishima was kind of responsible for the rollout of the Switch. Like, Satoru Iwata put a lot of that stuff in motion, but the execution by Kimishima was like, hey, we're going to have a new big release title out every month. There's going to be something coming every month. No one thought Xenoblade 2 was going to make that December release. They pulled it off. The marketing for the Switch, everything last year was like, man, I am getting the Nintendo of my childhood back. And they're like, there's just this kind of like, hey, we're kicking ass and taking names now attitude. But I mean, how old is he? I mean, I understand him stepping down, and he was always intended to be this kind of interim guy, but
yeah, he's in his upper 60s, but by no means is he used up and ready to go on the scrap heap. Like I was just as shocked as a lot of people were when they announced he was being replaced, and I'm fine with a younger guy coming in and hopefully bringing some new lifeblood to the thing. But like you said, I mean, we've now seen Fire Emblem get pushed. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop with Yoshi being officially pushed, and Yoshi wasn't a huge title for me.
It did. It got officially.
Okay, well then, yeah, I just missed it then. But here we are now. Are we going to slip back into that old Nintendo time thing where everybody else, like. The rest of the world is living on the same clock, but Nintendo's over here just kind of doing their own deal, and I'm hoping we're not going to see a backslide into some of that now. Polishing a game, making sure it's ready to go out. I appreciate Nintendo doing those things. And I appreciate that they've always done that, but then you need to have the transparency and not just drop it at E3 that, oh, by the way, this thing's getting pushed. Like, you need to come out and just say, hey, we're having an issue. It's being pushed, and maybe don't disappoint everyone at E3 with that.
Right. And we didn't see there was all the talk about, like, whatever Retro's working on, this supposed, like, Star Fox Grand Prix, like,
nothing
sort of F-Zero crossover that I know people are kind of divided on it, but there was this talk that, like, oh, it's this, like, kind of more hardcore arcadey racer than Mario Kart with, like, shoot stuff to go faster mechanics. And I'm like, I'm all over that. And if it revitalizes either series, maybe they could have done like a Captain Falcon guest spot. I was really excited to see something about that, and just absent, not like they said they were going to show it, but I think it was kind of expected. And then last year, I mean, with the Pokemon announcement, prior to us knowing about Go, they just put someone in a room and he's like, yeah, we're working on Pokemon. It's like, how hard is that to do when you kind of know you have this empty offering to just say, like, hey guys, like, this is happening, even if they haven't touched it yet,
Yeah, and Nintendo's playing with house money, and I think they know it, but that was another thing is, the internet kind of lit up over, oh, well, there was nothing from Pokemon got shown, just like nothing from Metroid got shown. And both of these games were talked about or had the little teaser thing last year. And then this year it's just dead silence about both of them. Even though we've been told, okay, Pokemon is definitely coming fall of 19. Well, that's cool, but for the people like me who aren't going to touch Let's Go because we don't play Go anyway, and we do like those more traditional RPG style experiences, we just kind of got left in the cold on that whole deal. And I mean, it doesn't upset me that much because I'm not super hardcore into Pokemon. I play it, it's fun, but it's disappointing to have something that you expected to be there just kind of no show, and then no one even says a word. It's kind of like losing a child. You're like, hey, what happened to your kid? Johnny? I mean, we don't have a kid. Like,
certainly more dramatic, but yeah,
right, yeah.
The analogy.
Yeah.
I'm excited about 2019. I think 2019 could shape up to be a really strong year for the system, where we'll kind of catch up on this, like, the slack in the development cycle.
Yeah.
But just this felt like a huge come down from the excitement of last year, where I was, they're kind of flirting with the potential of these like big third-party releases. We saw Doom, we're getting
Right.
Wolfenstein. There's even like rumblings of making Monster Hunter World work on it.
Yeah.
But now I just have this feeling of like, the one thing I hope is that they stick with the Switch concept in a like iterative sense. I think it's a strong enough concept that you can make that work. And there was like some rumors when the NX was floating around that this was going to be like a dynamic platform that could kind of iterate in the future. And I hope that's what happens. I really want a super Switch. I want a more powerful, more capable system that still gives me portability, that maybe something like the scope of Ghost of Tsushima or Spider-Man could end up on the platform. And I felt like with this whole presentation, I'm like, oh, now I kind of feel like the odd man out again on the Nintendo side of things. And we're just kind of getting these like lower tier indie titles and then first party Nintendo stuff.
Yeah. I mean, again, we'll kind of see what happens. I think the support is there, especially from Japanese developers. Bethesda's unequivocally, jumped in with Nintendo. So I think as more American developers, and the good thing is again, the indies are so strong that Nintendo's got something here that even if it means they have to give us a Super Switch in 3 or 4 years from now, to kind of refresh the market, they're going to be able to do it. But yeah, this year, a little bit of a letdown, a little disappointing, but next year sets up as potentially being a monster year. So
what are you guys looking forward to then? Just to kind of wrap this up, what are y'all's big takeaways? What 2 to 3 games you guys really looking forward to? Neil, you want to go first?
Sure. Starlink.
Yeah.
Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man. I'm gonna go over 3.
You only get 3.
I mean, I can cut it to that. Smash, Ghost of Tsushima, Starlink, and Spider-Man are just like, give me those games now.
Okay.
Yeah. Ghost of Tsushima for sure. Starlink was a pleasant surprise. Doom Eternal. God, just hook it to my veins, please. Or at least give me the soundtrack. That's 3.
That's your
Otherwise,
3,
I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, for me, I'll echo the Ghost of Tsushima, because I watched that trailer while you guys were talking about it over here in my producer booth. And Spider-Man, of course, and Last of Us 2. That's, that Last of Us, I know you guys said it was too brutal, but... Ooh.
No. I will still be playing.
Well, okay, Travis said the first one was brutal emotionally. You're saying the second one is, brutal gameplay-wise, so, I'll wear the big boy pants here and play the game for you ladies, so...
No Smash for you, Keith?
I wanted to be excited for Smash, and I love Smash. I will play Smash when I'll get it on Switch, but if they're not giving me any new characters, what's the point? I've played with all these characters before. If I want to play with Mega Man, I'll go back to, what is it, the Wii U he was on?
Yeah.
What's that?
I mean, I know it happened in the first reveal, but the Inklings from Splatoon are coming. And one cool thing about that is you're kind of like painting the stage, and you actually have to like hold B while you're shielding to kind of charge up your ink. Okay. So there's like mechanics coming right from Splatoon. But yeah, I realize
I'm not a Splatoon player, so I mean, I can't really speak to that. Honestly, I would imagine the gameplay mechanics for those characters wouldn't be that far off from the Mii characters that they introduced the Wii version of Smash.
Those are coming back.
Yeah, they're all coming. I mean, they're all coming back. Yeah. So I mean, let's be honest. We're all gamers. We all know that. Certain characters play the same way for Smash.
Yes.
So
certain ones are reskins.
I imagine. While different, the Inklings will be a little bit different, and maybe more different. But I imagine their base will at least still be the Mii characters from the Wii version of Smash. I would assume.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just an assumption. So, but I wanted to be excited for Smash. I was hoping, and maybe we'll be done with this podcast, and some new character will have been revealed while we've been doing this, and I'll be excited for it.
The
Maybe
Ninja Turtles.
honestly, I got those in Injustice. I'm covered with that. That was actually the game that I was playing for the longest time before I decided to move on to Fallout 4. Now I think about it.
The one that everybody wants is Goku. If it's a non-game franchise, everybody wants Goku.
Well, it's interesting.
Yep.
You guys actually, now I'm thinking about it. One of the trailers I did watch was that you guys didn't mention was Jump Force.
Yeah.
Was basically all the anime I say all, for the non-anime guy here who has watched, Samurai Champloo, and that's really been about it. It has a bunch of anime characters, Treasure Island, Dragon Ball Z, all in some fighting game. And you know what?
Yeah.
I know the characters just by proxy. I haven't watched many of their stuff, but I'm excited for it. I kind of want to play that game, to be perfectly honest. It looks fun.
Yeah. Well,
so I think it's called Jump Force.
Yeah, one of my buddies asked me about the name. He's like, "What the hell kind of name is that? None of these characters. Of course they jump. It's a fighting game." I'm like, "No, it's Shonen Jump. Like that's all of those characters come from Shonen Jump mangas over in Japan. Like they're smashing all of their characters. It's like if somebody said Disney Force and you had all that. So
I'm okay with that. Like I'm looking forward to that game. I even liked playing the PlayStation Battle Royale.
Oh yeah, PlayStation All Stars.
So I like those. I like the mashup fighting games. I just can't get behind Smash this year.
I feel like I'm going to come over here in December, and you're just going to be playing it, and then I'm going to be like, Keith, play me.
I'll be playing it. I'll play it when people come over, but I'm not going to be as into it as I was with the Wii U.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, it's just how I feel. So, but the other games, plenty of excitement to be had for any of these games easily. We posted some of the trailers, and you guys have been sharing some of the stuff. So, I'm excited for, like you guys said, I think Neil summed it up really good. 2019 is going to be a solid year for gaming.
Oh, yeah.
So,
in September of this year, outside of Nintendo.
Yeah, we got Red Dead. Yeah, because we got a lot of games coming out that weren't even mentioned.
September and November are going to be so overloaded that, like, your Christmas list, just buy the one you absolutely can't live without. Throw everything else on the Christmas list because
Spider-Man.
You're never going to have the time otherwise.
Spider-Man's going to be the game I'm going to get in September. I'm going to have to put Red Dead Redemption 2 on hold.
No, I know it. Yeah.
Spyro remaster I'll put on hold eventually.
Mega Man 11's coming.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely ridiculous. If we would have gone down to
Mario Tennis Aces.
Yeah.
I haven't even mentioned
Friday.
that.
Yeah.
Jeez, that is Friday. Yeah. Yep. And also Incredibles comes out as well on Friday while we're
Oh gosh, it does.
Yeah,
it never stops.
No, that's the thing. Like it's we take weeks off here at Pop sometimes, and it's partially because we're kind of behind on things. Yeah. Like we need time to catch up. We just finally caught up with Westworld, and
I'm still behind on that.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. There's just so. I mean, we are in an era of good pop culture.
Yeah.
Movies, TV shows, video games, comic books.
Yep.
Hell, musicals. We got a Mean Girls musical out now. So, jeez, who would have ever thought that? So Hamilton, that's still a thing people go to, I guess. No, I've heard good things, and we're actually it's coming to the Hampton Roads area, which we are here based out of, and
except for Neil.
Well, yes, Neil's out in California, but Popped is based in Norfolk, Virginia, which Neil actually has ties to this area.
I got base back there, yeah.
Yeah, so all sorts of good pop culture. So all right, you guys want to give any parting thoughts? Anything you want to wrap up with here?
Just thanks to anyone who stuck around while we rambled and complained about video games.
Listen to the full 2+ hours. I'm pretty sure we've set a show length record.
You're
and
close.
I thank you.
Close. Taylor, Sarah, Miles all stuck around for it. Unfortunately, we had some issues. We weren't on Facebook.com/Pop Show. I will be sending my email to Mark Zuckerberg personally first thing tomorrow morning. I'm sure he'll get right back to me.
I've got his contact.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to talk to Tom on MySpace as well while I'm at it. And so we weren't up on Facebook tonight, but we were on YouTube. So we'll post that. We'll post the YouTube link on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Pop Show. The audio version of this, which, plenty of good information on, as you guys have been sitting here and listening to, that'll be on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. So all sorts of stuff there that you can download. And we've got 30-plus episodes easily on our Podbean. So, if gaming isn't your thing, or if gaming is your thing and you still want to listen to more, we have put plenty of episodes up on each of those 4 platforms. So, we will. I appreciate you boys running the show tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, anytime. Yeah, I popped coast to coast, as this will be known as, and yeah, no, it's. I appreciate you guys sitting in, listening. Neil, thanks for taking time out of your day to chime in. Travis, thanks as always for sitting in.
Always happy to be here.
I actually kind of liked sitting in the background for once. It was nice. It was relaxing. Let you guys do all the work, and I just sit back here on the computer.
Maybe we can tag in on, there's some gaming stuff in the future. Happy to come by and bore the hell out of everybody.
Hey, you keep us posted on those video game stuff, because I haven't had much time for any game that's come out recently, as evident by my Fallout 4 playing, which came out 3 years ago. So, I'll leave the gaming to you, Neil and Travis. You guys chime back in whenever you guys have played something really good and need to talk about, because Spider-Man will be the only new game I'm playing for the rest of the year.
Fair enough.
So, awesome. Well, thanks again, guys. And as always, we will see you guys. Well, no, we're actually off next week. So in 2 weeks, actually, you know what? I'm going to plug the show, because in 2 weeks, June 25th. June 26th.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we've got a big show. We've got Bob France and Kevin Cuffey, local. Well, Bob used to be local comic book writer and artist. I guess pimping kind of their new Kickstarter, which is Metal Shark Bro. Which is literally a anthropomorphic shark playing metal guitar.
Okay.
That's all I've got right now. But they will be coming back in 2 weeks to talk about their Kickstarter, because that'll be starting up in July. And then after that, we've got, I'm going to screw this up, but Mark Gagliardi from Drunk History fame. Woo. So there might be booze on that show. We got to really get in the spirit of that
might
episode.
Need to be a Saturday show.
Unfortunately, we have already been booked for June 26th, which is our regular Tuesday slot, at 8 p.m. Eastern or 5 p.m. Pacific time for those out on the West Coast with Neil there. So yeah, make sure you guys catch up on all the pop episodes and tune back in on June 26th at 8 p.m. where we're going to have a jam-packed show.
Woo.
Awesome. So Neil, Travis, thank you, gentlemen. Everybody else, thanks for listening, and we will see you soon. Until next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.